everybody. Hi everyone, I hope everyone's doing well again. So this is going to be a part 2 of this fake history, pyramids, buildings and the hidden secret occult mysteries of part of this world. So if you haven't seen the part 1, it's probably worth watching it now before I'll just go for a summary of what I was talking about in part 1. If it was too long for you in part 1, maybe just stay and I'll just go through what I went through in part 1. So yeah. Anyway, so what did I talk about last time, guys? Well, instead of going into the video, I'll just show you now. Well, one thing we did look at is how pretty much most buildings around the world have this pyramid shape, don't they? So this is the Eiffel Tower, you know, the Shard in London is like a pyramid shape, the tallest building in the UK. Loads of buildings, the Burj Khalifa as well. Yeah, the Burj Khalifa, which is kind of like a pyramid shape as well. And we also looked at how houses' roofs these days are all like pyramid shapes at the top, aren't there? There could be any other shape, there could be square, but they decided to do them like a pyramid shape. And you see this all over the world, don't you? This kind of triangle pyramid shape in quite a lot of houses all over. Oh. Let me go down. Oh, okay. You see what I mean? It's all over. Look. This shape, and it kind of resembles the Eye of Providence, the all-seeing eye, the triangle pyramid shape. So we looked at that. And of course we looked at church spires, didn't we, in the churches, how they have the pyramid shape at the top. A lot of the churches' spires are pyramid shaped again. And if you look at this, if I show you the picture of the Eiffel Tower, you know, does that not look like the shape of a church spire as well? And this is a radio tower, isn't it? And like top of the Empire State Building, again, it's a pyramid, isn't it? It's like a radio tower. Now, what if these church spires were actually resonators, energy sources, like the radio towers that you see in Paris, all over the world. And they're that shape, aren't they? The Tokyo Tower again is another one. They're the same shape. If you look, some of them even more so. Look, this one here. Can you see it's like the Eiffel Tower shape in it? And they're designed like pyramids. Does it link to the Eye of Providence? Because the occults love the pyramids, don't they? So yeah, that's one thing we did look at. And I did talk about another thing as well at the start. I did talk about at the start the Lincoln Imp, which was a local Lincoln demon in the home city that I'm from. So this cathedral, Lincoln Cathedral, was once the tallest building in the world, like I showed in my previous video in part 1. And in statues within the cathedral, they have these statues on the wall of the Lincoln Imp. And it's a bit odd because this imp supposedly so the Lincoln Imp is a grotesque on a wall in Lincoln Cathedral, England, and has become a symbol of the city of Lincoln. A legend tells of being a creature sent to the cathedral by Satan. So it's sent to the cathedral by Satan, right? Only to be turned into stone by an angel. So if it was sent to the cathedral by Satan, they have quite a few of these statues up all over the cathedral, right? So it's a demon. And they have it up on Lincoln Cathedral. Why would you have it up in Lincoln Cathedral. If it's only a legend as well, what's the importance of having something like this? You know, you think this was just from imagination back in 1311 or wherever the cathedral was built, really. In 1899, the reproduction of the Lincoln imp overlooked the front quad of Lincoln College, Oxford. So that was in Oxford. And I think this was the one in the Oxford College. Look, you can see here, they did a copy of it. It's a bit odd, isn't it? What the importance is. It's supposed to be, apparently, as well. This is the legends, and I've said about according to the 14th century legends, two mischievous creatures called the imps were sent by Satan to do evil work on the earth. After causing mayhem in northern England, the two imps headed to Lincoln Cathedral and they were smashed on tables and chairs and ripped up the bishop when an angel came out of the book and of hymns and told them to stop. One of the imps was brave and started throwing rocks at the angel, but the other imp cowered under broken tables and chairs. The angel turned the first imp into stone, giving the second imp chance to escape. It is said that even on still days, it is always windy around the cathedral, which is the second imp circling the building looking for his friend. So what it's like the cathedral's cursed, isn't it? Like, you know, a lot of these churches and cathedrals pretend to be Christian buildings, but if they're Christian buildings and worship Jesus, why would you put statues up in the cathedral? Why would you put statues up in Oxford College? And then there's another one here as well, a Lincoln imp on a house in Farndale, North Yorkshire. You know, look at it. This is supposed to be a satanic demon, and you're having statues of it in cathedrals, Christian cathedrals, supposedly. It's supposed to be Christian cathedrals, but we know a lot of these quote-unquote Christian cathedrals are not Christian cathedrals. They're secretly satanic, occult worshippers. Some of these big bishops and these big priests are Freemasons, aren't they? So, yeah. And another thing I looked at was the Lincoln Cathedral. This is Lincoln Cathedral, and it's got this thing called the chapter house here. And I said how it's like a hexagon. So you got the 1 side, 2 side, 3 side, 4 side, 5 sides, 6 sides. It's like a hexagon witchcraft, which is a hex. So did they perform really evil witchcraft, occult magic in this chapter house? Possibly, because of the shape of it. It's a very strange shape. Because it might have been a Christian. They might have done services to Christianity in part of this church, but then what were other parts used for? Was it an energy source? Because I said how it used to have a spire on the top as well. I'll show you now. Yeah, it actually, weirdly, used to be the tallest building in the world, apparently. We know history's fabricated, there'll probably other taller buildings, but in this narrative history, it was the tallest building in the world. Because it used to have 3 spires on top. But if you look at this now, the spires have gone. So it used to have 3 spires that resemble pyramids again, and it's got that Eiffel Tower shape on it. So were they resonators, were they energy sources, kind of the equivalents of radio towers, TV towers you see today? Were these power stations, so they kind of have that power station look as well. You know, there could be healing. So there's all sorts of stuff. They're so big. It wasn't just a cathedral for what we're told a cathedral is. There was so much more to it, of course. And you look at the complexity of it. You know, we're told that technology wasn't advanced then, but who knows? Probably it was. Maybe they had a reset. And I said last time how in part 1 how the that it may be every reset they do, they change the reality, and it's a complete different reality to what we have now. And in the future, it'll be a completely different reality, and maybe they'll get rid of any evidence of this reality. It's just a theory, but interesting. So yeah, I talked about that. So why, and these apparently fell off during a storm. they fell off during a storm. They were apparently they were wooden spires when constructed, and construction was completed 4 years later in 1311. The central spire reached a height of 525 feet. I talked about that last time. This would have made it blah blah blah, and the tallest building in the world. But apparently in 1548, the central spire, under the strain of both the cumbersome weight and fearsome gale and storm, it collapsed. So it collapsed, and then they said they had to get rid of the other two because it didn't look right. That's the narrative, but I don't believe that, because when you look at some of these buildings all over the world, like even as recently the Notre Dame fire, that was a ritualistic fire, but what was it about? Was it about getting rid of maybe a resonator on there, getting rid of any evidence of resonators, so people don't understand this, how free energy sources work? Who knows, right? And it's all over the world. You look at some of the great fires I talked about last time. You've got the great fires of London, the great fires of San Francisco, and fires all over the United States, destroying any buildings and any evidence that was once there. Why? Why? The Library of Alexandria, again. That was another false flag. Well, did it actually happen? I don't know. But yeah, just thought I'd do a little summary of all that, what I talked about. And then, this is when it gets interesting now. So I talked about all that, the pyramid shapes, all the buildings representing pyramid shapes, even houses, and the tallest buildings in the world, the Shard, the Empire State Building, the Burj Khalifa, the Eiffel Tower, they're all pyramid shapes. And then, the occult symbol. So now what I'm going to show you is this, quickly. So the Star of David, I've talked about how it's a hexagon in the middle, and you've got the 6 sides, and then the triangles representing 6 pyramids around the hexagon. So what if there's a secret location somewhere in this world, wherever it might be, where there's a hexagon with 6 pyramids around it, where they do occult rituals and witchcraft? And I talked about the Kabbalah, the Jewish mysticism, is witchcraft, black magic. It's magic. And it relates to this. What if there's a secret location in Israel or Egypt where they do, or anywhere, we don't know, where they do, it's the most exclusive secret societies and the highest secret societies meet up and perform rituals and witchcraft that have a big impact on this world. And maybe there's a secret location where there's a hexagon with 6 pyramids around it, and that's where they meet up. Just thought that was an interesting thought. And then, of course, I went to talk about how there's arches all over the world, isn't there? Like the St. Louis Arch, the Arc de Triomphe, all over the world. And I showed you that arch in Lincoln where it's just on its own. And there's even other ones in the UK where they're just on their own. They get rid of the rest of the building, but they keep the arches up. They're just on their own. You've got Marble Arch in London. Again, you've got a few in New York where they're just arches on their own. What are they for? And they're like gateways or something. It's like, here, why would you build something like this? What purpose does this represent? Apparently it's just a structure. Nah, I don't think so. Because it's all over the world. They keep the arches, don't they? And we sold it's for history purposes, but they recreate these arches, even modern ones, and they're just randomly placed in the middle of nowhere sometimes. And then I linked it to this. I linked it to Janus. The gateway is the god of gateways, the god of beginnings, end, and stuff like that. So he's the god of transitions as well. Now we're going through a transitional stage at the moment, aren't we? Where we're talking about stuff like the transhuman, transgender. Everything is transitioning. Wearing a mask, it's transitioning this new age into it that they're creating. And another thing I actually found about was, of course, as well, he's got the key, hasn't he? This is a symbol in Freemasonry. And is it a key to all these gateways and doors? Who knows? Crazy, you know. And we go through doors, don't we? When we leave our houses, we always go through arches, and we go under bridges, and it's all the ways this arch thing, and it's just interesting. But another thing that I didn't mention in the video, in the previous video, was how it's like two angel wings again in it, like fallen angels. Represents the two-face, represents the fallen angels. So you got the left wing, right wing, and in politics today you have left wing, right wing, don't you? And it's like a division mechanism. It's a division tactic that they use. So you're either on a left wing or a right wing, or the average people are that don't know what's going on. And you've got the left brain and the right brain. Again, to talk about how left brain represents Satanism and right brain represents closer to Christ. That's what they say anyway. Just find it really interesting, you know. So is the God of beginnings, gates, transitions, time, duality, doorways, passages, frames, and endings. And you know, you've got left, right of everything, haven't you? Everything's left, right, opposite. You've got the coin, left, the two sides of the coin as well, like the two sides of the face. And I just thought it was interesting, and definitely how it reminds me of the wings, angel wings. It's very strange. How they have this statue all over the place as well. It is, you know, it's in paintings and stuff. You see here, look, you've got one here, you've got another one here. A little bit different. So, yeah. Right, guys, so now I'm back in Lincoln. So that was the cathedral I looked at last time. And can you see some of these buildings, how they overlap? It's really interesting. And then, can you see here, look, I don't know if you noticed, but they've talked about this in when you look into stuff like Tartaria. But if you look here, oh, I can't see because there's stupid lorries in way, but if you look over here, look, can you see this window here, look? Now, you see these windows all over the world. I'm not going to really get much into it, but it's just interesting. And some of them are even covered up. And some of them even go 2 or 3 levels down, especially in American cities, and you think, why? And then you've got people like John Levi coming out and talking about stuff like about mud floods. It's interesting stuff, and maybe I will do a video on it one day. And I'm not saying I definitely 100% believe all this, what they're talking about, but it's interesting. It's good to have an open mind, isn't it? A lot of people don't. This is the problem you see in this world. A lot of people just think they're right, and they're not. No one's right. No one knows what's going on. Unless you're in the occult, unless you're in the cult and you're right at the top, you're not going to know what's going on, are you? You know, even people in the Freemasonry have been deceived. The Jewish people have also been deceived. The Jesuits, even, the ones that are not right at the top, have been deceived by their masters. You know, that's how it works. And people get into these cults. They're stupid, really, aren't they? Because they've been deceived as well. Why would you trust something like that? Just to get a higher rank? So see how high you can go? So you can get to a higher degree? So you have a status, you have a label, and people respect you more. Unbelievable, innit, guys? But yeah, I just found that interesting. So what I'm going to look at now is this castle here. We're going to go into the castle, if we can. So this is Lincoln Castle, and I want to show you something. You know, when you look at these ruins all over the world, and this made me think about this when I went to Lincoln Castle. Of course, these are all, these won't have been bombed or anything, like, you know, like a nuclear bomb would have gone off and destroyed the building, because they're all level, aren't they? So, but it just made me think of ruins. And when you see these old ruins, especially in the UK, so if we just search it now, we're not going to do Lincoln Castle, but this castle is very interesting because it looks like it was something. Maybe it was bombed because the inside is completely open spaced. Not in World War One or World War Two, but hundreds and hundreds of years ago. You know, was there a nuclear war in the past even? Who knows? Because you look at all these ruins, I'll just show you now. And guys, these are just theories. You know, don't take it literal like I believe them. I'm just putting theories out there. Because you have all these ruins in the UK that are thousands of years old. Maybe even more, maybe even less. But some of them are even just like 400 or 500 years old. And you're thinking, do these look like they've been destroyed by a bomb or something? You know what I mean? When you look at some of them, I mean, this one here is Whitby Abbey. I've been there. I think it's Whitby Abbey. That's in North Yorkshire, in England. But some of these, they look like they've been bombed. And you get some of these cities as well that are completely eradicated nearly. And it's like, what happened? Something catastrophic happened, but we're told they just fell into ruins. Some of these, was there a past nuclear war that maybe got rid of a reality before this one? An old history, another where there was another world, another reality in the same world, and they just got rid of it and did a reset and changed this reality and gave, and whatever humans were left, they just brainwashed them. Maybe even MK Ultra. We know MK Ultra's very real in it. We know mind control's very real. Of course, mind control's real. The TV, it mind controls people. People are under mind control at the moment because they believe everything they see. They're in a trance. More than that, actually, to be honest. I don't know what that was. For fuck's sake. Yeah. I just find it really interesting, guys. Stuff like that. Because what if there was technology that was really advanced and then they get rid of the technology when they do these resets, when they have a massive catastrophic event that completely destroys whatever's left or nearly destroys whatever's left of a past civilization. And we know there's underground bases and underground cities all over the world. And is that where occult elites go? Occult people right at the top, and the 13 bloodline families and the people that are running this show, all the people that will survive these catastrophic events, do they go underground and then come back up and repopulate the world, or do they what goes on? I don't know. It's hard to gauge because even this doesn't make sense what I'm saying, but you look at history, doesn't make sense either, does it? Because history is a lie. What we're told is a lie. Nothing adds up to what they say. You know, we're told that in the past 200 years, the technology just advanced like it has. And in the past 10 years, the technology has just advanced to such a degree, like in the thousands of years that we've been around for, and all this just comes about right now. And the population explodes just about now. It doesn't make sense, does it? So you've got this population going from like less than 1 billion a couple of hundred years ago, then suddenly it goes up during our lifetime to nearly 8 billion, just about. It doesn't add up to me. It doesn't make sense. And nothing. I think everything they say is complete utter fraud and a lie. You know. But yeah, you look at some of these ruins. It's amazing. Why are some of them like this? You know. You know what I mean? Even stuff like this. What happened here? These were buildings, were they? Did they catch fire? But then if they caught fire, wouldn't they just... I don't know. But look at this, guys. Look at this. Yeah, so before I start this, I don't know how some people can not, like, think outside the box sometimes. They just see... They struggle to see past this reality because they don't want to be deemed crazy, a crazy conspiracy theorist or whatever, or they think that they're stupid and you're a nut job and you make us other truthers look like nut jobs. If you think outside the box, you've got to think a certain way. Even in like this truther age where people are trying to find the truth and you know they know the world's a lie, even in that age there's still limits. And I say it should be limitless to what you should be able to research and think. You should be think way outside the box sometimes, no matter how crazy it should sound to normies. Because why should you have a limit on what you can think without people calling you stupid? Because this world is a lie. Straight away, this world's a lie, right? So why not think outside the box of other, even the craziest things sometimes? Even though you don't 100% believe it, it's good to put it out there, innit, as ideas. Because I've got people in the past attacking me because I've had an idea about saying that the technology is way more advanced, and because they don't believe me, they attack me and say, no, it isn't, no, it isn't. How the fuck do you know? You know, do you? You've seen it for yourself. You think, okay, all you have to say is, okay, I don't agree with your opinion, but I believe it isn't more advanced, but that's my opinion. And I appreciate your opinion. Your opinion's your opinion. My opinion's my opinion. Why do people try to change other people's opinions to suit theirs? That's the type of world we're living in. I respect anybody's opinions. I don't go around and say it's this, that, and the other, unless I actually generally 100% know, like we know what's going on now, and I know for a fact that they've been lying to us, and so do you guys, right? Because that's why you're here. But when I say theory, and when I say I don't know, but I think it might be this, but I'm not 100% sure, I put it out there because I find it interesting. But people, just because I don't agree with it, they'll try and shut you up. And it's like, what? So if you're trying to shut me up, do you agree with censorship then? Do you agree with the censorship age, what we're living through now? Some people that go against this censorship try to shut you up when you talk about stuff like this. Well, I don't 100% believe this. I'm just finding it fascinating, and it's interesting because it doesn't all add up. Even though this doesn't add up, what I say about these fires and these, maybe there were nuclear bombs in thousands of years ago as well, and they just got rid of any evidence, and they took it underground, and they had advanced technology, and they hid it from everyone, and then whoever survived, they took it away, and they had to what's the word I'm looking for? They invented everything. So-called, or drip fed the people the technology. So people, when these catastrophic events happened, the average people that survived accepted that there wasn't what it was. So, and they just continued to live and clean up what mess they had, and realised that because of the catastrophic event, they accepted that they don't have what they had before. And then, of course, as time moved on, like Chinese whispers, things just started, like it was the new norm to live like they did with not what they had before. And of course, as time's gone on, yeah. But these secret societies and these bloodlines know about all this, don't they? So this was the Great San Francisco Fire of 1806, and they got rid of a lot of buildings. And it's not just San Francisco; it's buildings all over America. During the Civil War, they had these big fires in San Francisco, the Great Fires. Look at these. Look at this. So you got the San Francisco Fire of 1801, and the 1861. Sorry, and the amount of buildings that were destroyed in these fires, and were the bombs? You got to ask yourself these questions, because there were major neighborhoods destroyed in these cities completely. And it's not just San Francisco. I think there's one in Boston. So if we search stuff like the Great Fire of Boston, they had a big fire as well in 1872, in the same time period. Got all these buildings destroyed. Why? What was here before? Is my question. And they killed a lot of people as well. Another one, look. This was the Great Seattle Fire. And this happened in a similar time period, a bit later, in 1889. So what were they doing? Obviously, they were deliberate. If there were fires, maybe there was something else. Maybe they did bomb a few locations and just claimed there were fires to the people around the area. Because some of them do look like they've been bombed, like this. I said maybe, I didn't say definitely. There's a difference. But why create all these fires? What evidence were they getting rid of? Were they getting rid of old energy sources and resonators that were around the city on the buildings? Who knows? I mean, even we're going to go way back now. We're going to come away from America, and we're going to look at this. So I want you to look at this. This is really interesting, guys. So this is way, way back. So we've got the 666 there, the mark, the beast, number of the beast, 666. In 1666, the Great Fire of London. Now this, they had a plague. So we're told in history they had a plague, like similar to what we have now, the CV. And the Great Fire of London wiped the plague out. That's what they say. Interesting narrative to play to the people, innit? So they had this big fire in 1066. Interesting year, right? With the 666, of course. What were evidence of this? Were they getting rid of? I'll tell you something in a minute that goes in my head that I'll say. But what evidence were they getting rid of during these fires? It's crazy. But when you look at steampunk, I'll just show you now. When you look at steampunk and these cities, a lot of them resemble like a kind of medieval mixed with futuristic technology that kind of represents like the 1800s Industrial Revolution. It's all mixed together, but it's technology that we've never seen before. And they have these airships. Now, I don't know if you've looked into Tartaria, but in Tartaria they have these airships, massive airships that used to transport people around. And they were all over. And it just fascinates me that what if what we see here was London before the 1066 fire? Maybe even this was what was happening. All these steampunk cities, these steampunk movies you see. It kind of mixes the industrial revolution with technology that we have now that's even more advanced with robots and stuff and all sorts of stuff like that. And it's just different technology to what we have now, really. That is, of course, we're told is made up and it's fantasy, but it's just a theory. What if what you see here was London before 1066, or even what you see here was before the Great Fire of San Francisco, the Great Fire of Boston, the Great Fire of Seattle? What evidence were they getting rid of? Were they destroying resonators and energy sources that made these things run? And did they get rid of these? Did they have catastrophic events to get rid of these? Because you see this a lot, and we know that a lot of movies and a lot of TV shows, they don't just put it out random just for fun. There's a reason why they put a lot of these shows and TV and movies out there. And this steampunk age is it's like an age in between the Industrial Revolution. So where's the technology that they just don't show us now? They just completely got rid of. Maybe they hide it. A different reality again. Like I said about a different reality. I just find it fascinating. Was this how people lived here? Look, I don't know. Not like that, but kind of like that, but similar. Look at this. Was the world like this? Could be a totally different world, right? Because you see ruins all over the world, especially in England. There's loads of ruins, loads of just like buildings that are barely standing, that just completely nearly gone. What were they? It just amazes me. Some of them look like they've been bombed, nuked. Was there a past nuclear war? Talking about hundreds and hundreds of years ago, not just 200 or 300 years ago, even 1,000 years ago. Was there a nuclear war again? Has this all happened before? It's just interesting. Maybe the world was like this before 1066. Maybe the world was like this in America. And it's stuff like this. History is a lie. History is a complete utter lie. So yeah, maybe the steampunk age was real at one point and not just fantasy. Because you look at some of these fairs as well, and some of the technology you have, and even some of the photographs that you see, that I'll get into in another video. I might even do a part 3 of this because I just find it really interesting. Some of these are out in fantasy, but maybe it's based off a real age that's just they've just completely wiped off our history timeline. I mean, all this is fantasy, of course, but you can see. I'm not going to go there, but I'm not talking about that stuff. But I'm just talking about this steampunk era that they show us. Because in a lot of these shows and these films, there's one I watched a while back. You look into what's it called, that show on Netflix? Hold on, let me think about it. Just give me a second, guys. Yeah, when you look at some of even the League of Legends games, and it's like this. Was that what maybe the world was like? Because you've got the Scientology in that as well. Not saying like that with some of the creatures you saw, but like the technology that they had back then. There's this Netflix show called Arcane, and it shows it's like this age where it's like mixed between in the past, like in the 1800s, 1700s, and it mixes occult technology, hidden technology that I think is hidden. And it's got that steampunk. You look at this city here, look, like this. Can you see? And this reminds me a little bit, like I'm going to show you now. Now, I'm not saying for, I'm just thinking outside the box here, guys. These are just theories. But some of these cities are like this, aren't they? Medieval looking cities like this. And then you've got it kind of reminds me of Lincoln because I'll show you quickly. So here, guys, you've got Lincoln Cathedral and you've got all these buildings. So I don't know if we can, I might go a bit further down here and show you. So it's right at the top of the city. So it's the tallest building in the city. It's right in the middle of the city, just perfect, bang on in the centre, right? And all these buildings, it's right at the top of the hill, and it overlooks the city. But yeah, let me show you this. So I tried to get the perfect location to try and show you. So, okay, this is the modern bit, by the way. I haven't shown you this bit yet. You see that's the bit in the new bit. And all these buildings just look completely plain compared to some of the more impressive styles. These are plain and modern, and the old ones are way more stronger and they're better looking and all sorts of stuff, right? And it makes you why. But so this is a better one. So you got the cathedral there. It kind of reminds me. And you look at some of these buildings around here. Look. You look at this angle here. Or we'll find another location actually. Hold on. Try and find. Go down here. It probably won't show you. I'll probably just have to show you on Google Images. But okay, no, I'll tell you what, we'll do it from here. So yeah, we've got a good view here. So these houses go right up, and these are like a medieval, some of these are really old houses and buildings going right up, and the cathedral is the tallest building in the world, right? And it's on a hill. So a lot of the city is on a hill. I'll probably go to that other look I showed you. It was I want it. Now you look at that, and doesn't it look similar to this? So you look at that now, and you look at this. They're like medieval buildings, aren't there? Some of them. And then you've got this. So it kind of reminds me of Lincoln. I mean, look at the two guys. Does it not look similar? Oh. Does it not look similar in some ways? I mean, look at it. It's like this is like a resonator, or it's a very important building that powers this city and the technology. And then you look at this. Was that what this was? And look at some of the buildings around here, look. Look at that. Doesn't it look very similar in some ways? Oh, look at the two. Though they look very similar though. So what if in the past there was technology in these places? Who knows, right? It's just a theory, but it's interesting, isn't it? Because, we've got the pyramid shape there again, but there's some of them, they keep these spires, don't they? And you think, what were they actually for? And did they have something else on top of them? Was there more to it? Did they have metal on them? You know, was there more buildings around here in the past that got completely just destroyed? I'm talking going about 400 or 500 years ago when there's no one around today, but you just don't know. I just find it interesting how this steampunk show, reminds me, it kind of resembles. So you look at this, and then you look at that. Looks a little bit different, but you know, it's kind of just that same style, in it. And they are medieval buildings, so what if there was technology then that just come and they had a catastrophic event that got rid of all this and they changed the reality? And what if they'll change reality in the future? It's really interesting stuff, guys. I just find it very fascinating, stuff like that. And even I have looked into the Tartaria stuff, and you know, and the mud floods a bit, but I do question some of it because some of it is a bit out of touch, really. But then again, I do accept that it's interesting, you know, even though some of it probably didn't actually happen. It's just really interesting, and I've even gone deeper to say that they had skyscrapers, and that some of these big mountains that you see were once buildings that have been covered up by these big catastrophic events that happened. You know, what seems crazy now might not seem crazy in about 50 years' time. Because when you look at 2020, the start of 2020, or even 2019, and where we are now, you go back then and to what everyone thought was normal then is not normal now. So what everyone thinks is normal now was totally weird then and out of touch. You would not believe this to become a reality. You're walking around watching see everyone wearing masks, the lockdowns, everything. You wouldn't see that as a reality, but they've made it a reality. They've changed in a short period of time. So if they can change that much, think about how much they can change reality between now and 2050. They can change reality. They can bring up a completely different scenario of a reality. So maybe there's different technology that they will release and drip feed to the people in the future, and they'll just get rid of any existence of this technology. I watched a really interesting show on YouTube last year. I'll see if I can find it, and I'll put the link in the description because it's definitely worth watching. And I tried mirroring it and putting it on my YouTube channel, but they took it down because of copyright, of course. So I was a bit annoyed at that. But what I wanted to show you in that is it showed what would happen if all humans disappeared. I'll just try and find it now. Hold on. I'm not going to play it or anything, so I don't want to get a copyright strike, but I'll try to explain it the best way I can. So it's this one, guys. It's called, I can find it, Population Zero. And what it shows is a world without people. If people disappeared, what would the world look like? And what it showed was of course, all the power stations went up. All the power stations went up and destroyed a lot of places, and radiation happened all over the world, and buildings were destroyed, all sorts. And what it showed was cities completely were wiped out because there were no people to run the power station. The power stations destroyed everything, causing fires and mayhem and droughts and hurricanes all over the world, crops. And what happened was, in the future, buildings, just short of 200 to 300 years, buildings completely destroyed. Try and show you now. Hold on. And what it showed at the end, this is interesting. You might find this interesting, guys. I'm going to put the link in the description so you can watch it. What it showed in the end was there was barely any evidence left of what was once here. So this is just a scenario of basically if every human being disappeared in this world, what would life be like? And what it showed it was within 200 years, nearly all the buildings completely disappeared, and there was no evidence left of what once was here. And it was a process. It was just a natural process of the Earth claiming itself. And there was barely any evidence. And the Eiffel Tower was nearly in ruins. The Big Ben. I'll try and find it now if I can. So the nature reclaimed itself. So you wouldn't have seen any evidence of anything been around. This was before. Well, hold on. I don't want to play it because I'll get a copyright strike. I know I will. Trying to find the bit with the Eiffel. There we go. That's the Eiffel Tower. So the Eiffel Tower, you wouldn't know that you was in the middle of Paris because in the future it just looked like it was trees. Look, the buildings have been completely destroyed and been reclaimed by nature, and you wouldn't have known there was a city there except from the Eiffel Tower that's there. You wouldn't know there was any city there. Same in New York, and it showed London as well, where there was. You wouldn't notice London was there. It was just It was all grass and trees. All the buildings have been destroyed. Not destroyed, but all the buildings have just crumbled. So here now it's showing the Eiffel Tower's falling down, and there's no evidence of Paris left because all the buildings have either crumbled or been destroyed by fires or explosions that have happened by power stations. And in the further future, land reclaims itself, and there's no evidence of a past civilization there. So that's a scenario they come up with in this documentary. It's really interesting. So what if there was civilizations in the past where they had a catastrophic event that may be completely controlled, and they just in the event caused so much devastation in the world that buildings were destroyed and made to crumble and into abyss and completely, and there was no evidence of those buildings left, like it showed in this documentary. And in the Eiffel Tower here, look, I don't know if it was. I wish I was able to play the documentary. Because it's really interesting. We're going to go further down towards the end, if we can. So look, the buildings, look, you see here, look, all the buildings are going. And what was once cities is now forests and trees and wildlife. This was once Paris. It's really interesting, guys. It's worth watching. It's worth watching. But yeah. Anyway, guys, I think I'm gonna leave it here. I might even do a part 3 because this stuff's really interesting. Get more into it. But yeah, maybe they've had loads of different realities in our timeline. A reality once maybe where all this existed and they just completely got rid of it. You got these airships here. We see a lot of people have talked about the airships and how they had resonators and areas where the airships come into the buildings. We see pictures of that. And maybe it was once a reality and they just got rid of any evidence of this steampunk era and maybe even other eras. And they wiped it out. And we don't know how old this world is. And, they're very patient, aren't they, about what they do. So maybe it was a 400 or 500 year process to get rid of any evidence of any of this ever existing, and maybe it's happened so many times before. I mean, time's just a concept again, isn't it, really? So it's created in the human mind, and they've created this concept for us, and they've given us this fake timeline, which I think is a lie, in my opinion. But I don't know what you guys think about this, but I'm an outside box guy. I just think way outside the box. Some of them are extremely crazy, and you think, oh, okay, Jack, what the fuck? And some of them are just like, wow, actually, yeah, that's interesting. Maybe you find some of this interesting, maybe you don't. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, guys, I'll leave that. And I do think that in the Industrial Revolution's a lie. I think it's a planned revolution. I think they plan these revolutions. They already know the outcome because they've probably done it before. And it's like this new fourth industrial revolution that the World Economic Forum's coming out with, completely planned. They know the outcome for it, and they know the agenda behind it and where it leads to. Because they have probably done all this before. We don't know how all this world is. We don't know what this world is. We could be living in a minefield or anything. But these are just theories, guys. I'm not saying, like I said, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just putting ideas out there. that I think might be possible. So yeah, guys. Anyway, I'll probably do a part 2. I don't want to do it too long, because the reason why I'm doing it in parts, because if I did a 3-hour video or 4-hour video, people are not going to watch it for 4 hours. You know, they'll want it. They've got stuff to do. People have got stuff to do. You know, people have got lives. I know you've all got lives, and I know you might even want to watch other people. So I tried to keep it as short as possible, and then do another part. So that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, guys, I'll leave it there. I hope you enjoyed all this, and if you did, please, yeah, it's great if you like it, because it probably pushes the algorithm up and more people see it, and you know, get a bigger audience, and we can expand different ideas. And it's great if you guys can like put in the comments or whatever as well what you think about all this, and what your ideas on this are, and what you think it might be, and maybe you have some other theories that might be interesting that's worth sharing, because I will share them in the next video. All right, guys, thanks for your time.